You don't lose your life in one dramatic moment. You lose it in fragments, quietly, repeatedly. Right now, as you're watching this, there are patterns running in the background of your day. Small, familiar, almost invisible. And they are draining you. Not all at once, but slowly, like a leak you never bothered to fix. You wake up already tired. You scroll before you think. You react before you understand. Nothing feels catastrophic, but nothing feels fully alive either. This is the trap. Most people are waiting for a big breakthrough. A new job, a fresh start, a moment of motivation. But the Stoics saw something most people ignore. Your life is not shaped by what you intend to do. It is shaped by what you repeat without thinking. And that's where the real danger hides. Because these habits don't look destructive. They look normal. Sitting a little too long. Sleeping a little too late. Complaining a little too often. Individually, they seem harmless. Together, they rewrite who you are. A few months ago, I met someone at a cafe. Mid-30s. Smart, disciplined, on paper, doing everything right. But there was something off. He kept checking his phone between sentences. His shoulders were slightly collapsed. His eyes looked distant. At one point, he paused and said, "I don't know why, but I feel tired all the time. Not burned out, not depressed, just constantly low." And that's when it became clear. It wasn't one big problem. It was 100 small ones stacked together. Late nights, endless scrolling, no real rest, no real presence, nothing dramatic, but enough to slowly disconnect him from his own life. Here's the uncomfortable truth. You don't need a crisis to lose control. You just need enough unconscious habits. Because every small action carries a message. The way you sit tells your body whether to open or shut down. The way you breathe tells your mind whether you're safe or under threat. The way you think decides what kind of world you live in. And over time, your body, your mind, and your identity start to align with those signals. That's the real cost. Not just how you feel, but who you become. Here's the insight most people miss. You're not exhausted because life is hard. You're exhausted because your system is misaligned. Not broken, just off. And the worst part? You get used to it. Low energy becomes normal. Distraction becomes default. Discomfort becomes background noise. Until one day, you don't even remember what clarity feels like. The Stoics had a different approach. They didn't chase motivation. They didn't wait for perfect conditions. They paid attention to the small things, the repeatable things, the things no one else notices. Because they understood something simple and brutally honest. You don't rise to the level of your goals. You fall to the level of your habits. So, this video is not about drastic change. It's about awareness. Seeing clearly what has been quietly shaping you all along. Because once you see it, you can't unsee it. And once you take back control of the small things, everything else begins to shift. Slowly, but permanently. In the next few minutes, we're going to uncover 10 silent habits that are draining your energy, weakening your presence, and holding you back without you even realizing it. Starting with something so simple, you're probably doing it right now. Habit 1. Your body is collapsing. Look at how you're sitting right now. Not later. Now. Shoulders slightly forward. Neck leaning toward the screen. Chest a little closed. It feels normal. That's the problem. Because your body is not just holding you up. It's shaping how you feel and who you become. When your posture collapses, your breathing follows. Short, shallow, restricted, and your mind reads that signal as something deeper. Low energy, low confidence, low control. You don't notice it happening, but your body is quietly telling your brain something is off. And over time, your brain starts to believe it. A friend of mine works remotely, 8 hours a day in front of a laptop. No heavy stress, no toxic boss. But every evening, he feels drained, like he's been fighting something all day. I visited him once. He was sitting on the edge of his chair, back curved, chin forward, eyes locked into the screen. He looked smaller than he actually was. Not physically, energetically. We didn't change his workload. We didn't change his routine. We changed one thing. Every hour, a simple reset. Sit back, straighten the spine, open the chest, breathe deeply. 5 seconds. Within a week, he said something interesting. I don't feel as tired anymore. Nothing else changed. Just posture. Here's the insight most people miss. Your posture is not just a position. It's a message to your mind, to your body, to the world. Collapse long enough, and you don't just look defeated, you start to feel it. The body teaches the mind what to believe. That's the quiet loop. And once it's running, it shapes everything: your energy, your presence, even your decisions. The Stoics didn't talk about posture the way we do today, but they understood discipline in the smallest forms. How you sit, how you stand, how you carry yourself when no one is watching. Because that's where control begins. Not in big moments, in small alignments. So, here's your shift. Don't aim for perfect posture all day. That's unrealistic. Aim for awareness. Set small checkpoints. Straighten up. Breathe fully. Relax your face. That's it. Tiny corrections. Repeated often. Because when your body opens, your energy follows. And when your energy changes, so does everything else. Now let's move to something even more dangerous, because you don't just feel it in your body, you carry it into every single day. Habit 2. You're running on empty. You think you're just a little tired, but it's more than that. You're running on empty. Not for one day, for weeks, maybe months. And the scariest part, it has become your normal. You wake up, but you don't feel restored. You go through your day, but everything feels heavier than it should. Simple tasks take more effort. Small problems feel bigger. And you tell yourself, this is just how life is. It's not. Sleep is not just rest. It's repair. Your mind resets. Your body rebuilds. Your emotions stabilize. Without it, everything starts to slip quietly. Your focus weakens. Your patience shortens. Your resilience disappears. Not all at once, but enough to change how you show up. A guy I used to work with prided himself on hustling. Late nights, early mornings, always on. He would brag about sleeping 4 hours. At first, it looked impressive. Then things started to shift. He forgot small details, got irritated over nothing, struggled to stay sharp in meetings. Same intelligence, same experience, different state. One day, he admitted quietly, I feel like I'm always behind, even when I'm working harder. That's what sleep debt does. It doesn't slow you down instantly. It makes everything harder without you realizing why. Here's the insight. Fatigue doesn't just affect your body. It distorts your perception. You think you're thinking clearly. You're not. You think you're making rational decisions. You're reacting. An exhausted mind cannot lead a disciplined life. That's the truth most people avoid. The Stoics valued clarity above all. And clarity requires energy, not stimulation, not caffeine. Real energy, the kind that comes from being fully restored. So the shift is simple, but not easy. Protect your sleep like it matters, because it does. Not occasionally, consistently. Go to bed earlier than you want. Wake up at the same time. Treat rest as a foundation, not a reward. Because when you're well rested, you don't just feel better. You think better, act better, choose better. And once your mind is clearer, you start to notice something else. A habit that drains you even when you have energy. Habit 3. Complaining is your default mode. Pay attention to your thoughts for one day. Not the big ones, the small ones, the quiet reactions. This is annoying. Why is this happening? People are so difficult. It seems harmless. Just thoughts. But repetition turns them into identity. Complaining is subtle. You don't always say it out loud. Sometimes it's just a sigh, a tight jaw, a shift in your tone. But your body records it. Your mind reinforces it. And over time, it becomes your default way of seeing the world. I once stood in line at a grocery store behind a man who kept muttering under his breath. The line was slow. The cashier was new. Nothing unusual. But he reacted to everything. Every delay. Every mistake. By the time he reached the counter, his face looked tense, almost exhausted. Not from waiting, from resisting reality. Here's the deeper truth. Complaining doesn't solve problems. It multiplies them internally. The situation stays the same, but your experience of it gets heavier. You carry more tension, more frustration, more noise, and it follows you everywhere. The Stoics had a simple filter. Can you control it? If yes, act. If no, accept. No middle ground. Complaining lives in the middle, where nothing changes, but everything feels worse. Here's the insight. Every complaint is a small act of resistance against reality, against the present moment. And resistance is exhausting. You don't suffer because life is hard. You suffer because you refuse to accept what is. That's the shift. This doesn't mean you ignore problems. It means you respond differently, with clarity, with control, without unnecessary emotion. Start small. Catch one complaint today. Pause. Ask yourself, can I change this? If yes, do something. If no, release it. No drama, no story. Just let it pass. Because when you stop complaining, something unexpected happens. Your energy comes back. Your face softens. Your mind quiets. Your presence strengthens. And now, with a clearer mind and calmer state, we move to something even more hidden, how you lose control without even noticing. Habit 4. You're eating without being there. You're eating, but you're not really there. Your hands move. Your mouth chews. But your mind is somewhere else, scrolling, thinking, escaping. And that disconnect matters more than you think. Because eating is not just about food. It's about awareness. When you eat without attention, you train yourself to live without intention. You stop listening to your body. You stop noticing enough. And slowly, control slips. I once had lunch with someone who finished his entire meal without looking at it once. Phone in one hand, fork in the other. 10 minutes later, he said, "I think I'm still hungry." He wasn't. He just never arrived. Here's the insight. When you're absent in small moments, you become absent in your own life. Distraction is not harmless. It is a slow form of disconnection. The Stoics believed in living deliberately, not reacting, not drifting, Eating is one of the simplest places to practice that. So slow down. Feel the act. Taste the food. Notice when you've had enough. It's not about discipline. It's about respect. Because when you learn to be present in something as small as a meal, you begin to take back control of everything else. And that matters especially in a world that constantly pulls your attention outward. Habit 5. Comparison is draining you. You open your phone for a minute and leave feeling worse. Not because anything happened to you, but because of what you saw. Someone doing better, looking better, living better. Or at least, it seems that way. Comparison is quiet. It doesn't shout. It whispers, "You're behind." And the more you listen, the more disconnected you become from your own path. A guy I knew started a small online business. At first, he was focused, consistent. Then he began watching others. Bigger numbers, faster growth. Within weeks, he changed everything: strategy, pricing, direction. Not because it was wrong, but because it wasn't fast enough. Months later, he burned out. Not from failure, but from chasing someone else's timeline. Here's the insight. Comparison doesn't improve you. It fragments you. You stop building. You start measuring. The more you look at others, the less you see yourself. The Stoics kept it simple. Focus on what is yours to control. Your actions, your progress, your standards. Everything else is noise. Next time you feel that pull, pause. Come back to your life. Because peace doesn't come from having more. It comes from needing less. And once you stop competing with everyone, you'll notice something else. The way you carry yourself begins to change. Habit 6. Your body language is apologizing. Before you say a word, your body already has. The way you stand, the way you walk, the way you avoid eye contact. It sends a message. I don't belong here, even when it's not true. Body language is not just expression. It's reinforcement. If you shrink long enough, you start to feel small. Not because you are, but because you practice it daily. I once watched someone walk into a meeting room, head slightly down, steps hesitant, shoulders closed. No one said anything, but the room reacted. They were overlooked, interrupted, ignored. Same ideas, different presence. Here's the insight. The world often mirrors what you project. Not consciously, but consistently. If your body asks for permission, people will treat you like you need it. The Stoics didn't teach arrogance. They taught self-possession, owning your space, without aggression, without apology. Start small. Lift your gaze. Slow your movements. Stand like you belong, because you do. Not to impress others, but to align with yourself. Because the way you carry your body becomes the way you carry your life. And once that shifts, you'll begin to notice something deeper, the subtle signals of anxiety that have been speaking for you all along. Habit 7. Anxiety is leaking out. You don't always say you're anxious, but your body does. The restless fingers, the bouncing leg, the constant need to touch, adjust, check. Small movements, but they reveal a lot. Because anxiety rarely stays inside. It leaks through motion. Most people think these are harmless habits, something to ignore, but repetition turns them into signals. Signals your brain reads again and again. Something is wrong. Stay alert. Don't relax. And the more you repeat those signals, the more real they feel. I once noticed a guy during a job interview. Before it started, he looked calm, confident even. But the moment he sat down, his hands kept fidgeting with his pen. Click, click, click. At first, no one cared. Then it became distracting, not just for others but for him. He lost his rhythm, lost his focus. Same knowledge, different state. Here's the insight. Your body doesn't just express anxiety, it reinforces it. What you repeat physically, you strengthen mentally. That's the loop. The Stoics didn't aim to eliminate emotion. They trained control within it. And control begins with awareness. So the next time you catch it, pause. Stop the movement. Take one slow breath. Then another. No force. No frustration. Just interruption. Because when you break the pattern, even for a moment, you remind yourself, you're in control. And once your body starts to calm, you begin to notice something even more basic, something your body has been asking for all along. Habit 8. You're quietly dehydrated. You don't feel thirsty, so you assume you're fine. But your body disagrees. Low energy, dry skin, heavy eyes, subtle signs, easy to ignore, until they become your baseline. Dehydration doesn't hit all at once. It builds quietly. A missed glass here, another there, replaced by coffee, or forgotten entirely. And slowly, your system starts running below capacity. A friend of mine thought he had a focus problem. Every afternoon, like clockwork, his energy crashed. He blamed work, blamed stress. Then someone asked him a simple question. How much water do you actually drink? The answer, almost none. He changed one thing, carried a bottle, drank consistently. Within days, he said, I feel more awake without trying. No supplements, no hacks, just hydration. Here's the insight. Your body can't perform without basic support. And when it lacks something simple, everything feels harder than it should. Neglect the basics, and life starts to feel unnecessarily heavy. The Stoics believed in simplicity. Take care of what's essential, before chasing what's impressive. So start here. Drink before you feel thirsty. Make it a rhythm, not a reaction. Because clarity, energy, even mood depend on it more than you think. And once your body is properly fueled, you'll notice something deeper, the way you've been breathing all along. Habit 9. You forgot how to breathe. You're breathing, but not fully. Short inhales, tight chest, fast, shallow rhythm. It keeps you alive, but not at ease. Shallow breathing is the body's response to stress. The problem is, it doesn't turn off. Even when the stress is gone, the pattern stays, and your body keeps acting like something is wrong. I once noticed this during a long drive. Traffic was slow, nothing urgent, but my shoulders were tense, jaw tight. Then I realized I was barely breathing, just quick, shallow breaths. I paused, took one deep inhale, then another. Within seconds, my entire body shifted. Same situation, different state. Here's the insight. Your breath controls your state more than your thoughts do. Change your breathing and you change your entire system. Calm is not something you find. It's something you practice. The Stoics trained themselves to remain steady under pressure, not by avoiding stress but by mastering their response. And breath is the fastest way in. So build a simple habit. 3 times a day, pause. Inhale slowly. Let your belly expand. Exhale longer than you inhale. No rush, no tension, because when your breath slows down, your mind follows. Your body releases. Your presence returns. And once that happens, you'll start to see something even bigger, how disconnected you've become from the natural rhythm of life itself. Habit 10. You're disconnected from nature. You spend most of your life indoors. Artificial light, artificial air, artificial rhythm. And after a while, you forget what natural feels like. Your body doesn't. It keeps trying to follow a cycle, light and dark, energy and rest. But when that cycle is broken, everything feels slightly off. Your sleep becomes shallow. Your mood becomes unstable. Your energy inconsistent. Not enough to alarm you, but enough to drain you. I once knew someone who worked from home for years. Wake up, laptop. Eat, laptop. Relax, phone. Days passed without him stepping outside. Not intentionally, just habit. One day, he started taking short morning walks. No music, no phone, just sunlight. After a week, he said something simple. I didn't realize how heavy everything felt before. Nothing else changed. Just exposure to something real. Here's the insight. You are not separate from nature. You are part of it. And when you disconnect from it, you disconnect from your own balance. The more artificial your environment becomes, the more unnatural your state feels. The Stoics spent time outdoors for a reason. Not for escape, for alignment. To remember what is real, what is simple, what is enough. So, step outside, not for hours, just 15-20 minutes. No distractions, no stimulation. Let your body recalibrate. Because sometimes clarity doesn't come from thinking more, it comes from stepping back into something bigger than you. And when you begin to reconnect with that, you'll finally see the full picture, how all these small habits have been shaping your life all along. Nothing we talked about feels extreme. No dramatic mistakes. No life-altering decisions. Just small things. The way you sit. The way you sleep. The way you think, breathe, react. Easy to ignore. That's why they matter. Because your life doesn't collapse in one moment. It drifts. Quietly. Gradually. In the space between awareness and habit. I remember a conversation with someone who felt stuck. Not failing. Not struggling. Just not moving forward. He said, I don't know what's wrong. Nothing seems that bad. And that was the answer. Nothing was bad. But everything was slightly off. And over time, slightly off became his entire life. Here's the insight. Your reality is built from repetition, not intensity, not intention. Repetition. You don't become your goals. You become your patterns. The Stoics didn't chase perfection. They focused on control, not over everything but over what was theirs. Small actions, daily choices, quiet discipline. So don't try to fix everything at once. That's another trap. Pick one habit, just one. Bring awareness to it. Adjust it. Repeat it. Because change doesn't come from force. It comes from consistency. And if you've made it this far, you already did the hardest part. You paid attention. Now the question is simple. What will you do differently today? Because the next version of your life is not waiting in the future. It's being built in the smallest choices you make right now.